Good morning, fellas. If you're doing this when you're supposed to be, it's 8 a.m. on Friday, March 27th. It's Friday. It's hard to tell if it's Monday or yesterday or tomorrow or it's Friday. Ovarian Cycle. You guys know this as the monthly cycle, but it's centered upon the release of an ovum, and that is going to be based upon hormone changes in the body. Now, you guys are probably immediately speaking in your head of the changes that occur during what you would refer to as the period. It's only about 7 days in most cases on the extreme end. It's lesser days for most individuals of the actual bleeding, but the symptoms can last for 7 days or so. It's all focused on preparing for one thing. And if you're thinking about what that one thing is, you came up with fertilization. So the 28-day cycle, that is an average of 28 days, is going to focus on that release of an egg, and the uterus is ready to receive a fertilized egg. Ovulation occurs at about day 14 in the 28-day cycle. It's all going to happen really well in the next slide. First time this happens is by the textbook at 13 years old. That's an average. Again, like everything in this course is, this has been known to happen at 10 or 11 years old. I'm sure there's stories of 9 years old, but lots of factors that play into this for sure. It's about 28-day cycle, environmentally dependent, stress dependent, nutrition dependent, for about 30 years. That number is also an average that can run out to 40 years or more, okay? So if you do the math, if this is 13 plus 30, that gives us the 43, but we're showing that menopause begins at 45 to 50, which is the time that the cycle is going to stop. So when you're looking at this on your computers at home, just pause the video here and there and scroll yourself down to recognize that when we're talking days in the cycle, this is where we are. From day 0 to day 28. And we can call this 0 again. Here we go. I did the thing again. Is that too small to be a... Yes. So I draw small circles. It doesn't do the thing. Okay. So we're all focused on the 14th day right here, which I have to come back up and show you that this is ovulation. That's when the egg is released. Okay. If you focus on that, you're going to see that luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone have peaked, stimulating the release of the egg, but that also estrogen levels have peaked right prior to the egg release, and then progesterone levels have valleyed and then are on the incline. Now, right in here is the area of significance. We're going to come back to that in a minute. If we refer to the lining of the uterus as the location that fertilization and implantation are going to occur. So fertilization happens up in the fallopian tubes in general, and implantation happens here. We can then look at the thickness of the lining of the uterus and say that it's most prepared in this window, which is after day 14, which is after ovulation. So then the period or the menstrual cycle right here is about shedding that old lining away if there's no fertilization, and then building it back up and being prepared after the egg is released. Also notice that there's a drop in temperature, signifying that the female's ready. It's not a significant drop, but it is able to be calculated in Fahrenheit degrees, be closer to 1. That's intravaginal temperature at waking temperature. So now if we focus on day 14 and beyond, we see that the uterus is ready, temperature is elevated a little bit, and progesterone is going to reach a peak. This is an indication with this drop in estrogen that sex drive is increased, that the female is ready at the uterine level, temperature's right. This is going to be the period of time that fertilization is most likely going to happen. Some of you have a question at home, can fertilization happen before ovulation? And the answer is supposed to be no. But fertilization can happen anytime the intercourse is occurring, and these are not always reliable data, meaning any number of factors can cause an error in the cycle. For instance, people who are trying to get pregnant in this window, which is about day 17 to 26, they many times don't get pregnant. And some people aren't trying to get pregnant in this window. So this is the biology of it, but there's also social practice. And though not supposed to be able to achieve fertilization in this window because there is no egg present, we know that it can occur. All right. The uterine lining's not ready, the temperature's not right, and a number of changes have to occur that still haven't occurred yet. Okay, let's move forward. Y'all can hit me up with email questions. I'm going to create a thread that we can talk in a group here after I'm done with this lesson. So the purpose of breasts in terms of reproduction is obviously for feeding the developing offspring. This is a mammalian characteristic. We're subject to the rules of mammals. They do sit over the muscle tissue. This is the pectoralis major, and here's the fatty tissue over the pectoralis. The size is not a determinant of functional abilities. About 15 to 20 lactiferous lobes end up converging. So this is where the milk is produced and converges on the nipple. Obviously, suction draws it out. The areola is that pink center around the outside, nothing new for you guys. What is neat is the sebaceous glands that exist in the skin are responsible for keeping that area supple during suckling, so this can become chafed and uncomfortable and not function correctly. So, and you don't want to put anything on it necessarily because you don't want the baby to ingest anything, right? And then changing from pink to brown during periods of fertility. All right. Lactation then is regulated by the hormones. Oxytocin is one of them, the bonding hormone. If mom continues to feed, the baby will continue to take that, and mom will continue to make milk. Right? The whole point of this is offspring survival when she's carrying baby with her, formerly out in the wild wilderness. Infertility. So we mentioned males, oligospermia, low sperm count. There was a criterion for that. So for females, they only release 12 eggs in a year, so this is going to be failure to conceive after 1 year after those attempts. Medical conditions, environmental lifestyle stresses, smoking and alcohol, that can all cause difficulty in fertilization. And this is then focusing on the fact that the male could be the problem as well. But a couple who's trying to conceive for 1 year with no success can then consult a fertility doctor. And then as you see below, 25% of all women are going to be prone to some sort of infertility in a lifetime. That's 1 in 4, so it's a significant number. The symptoms that occur prior to each cycle are premenstrual syndrome, and I'm just going to go back to this as you guys try to figure it out, and you're being relatively insensitive. You see the hormone changes that happen here and here. Generally, these hormones are generally stable, and then for a couple of days, that's the ovulation piece, right? But there's changes all through here that occur. This is a change, this is a change, this is a change that leads to the cycle beginning, and it's all those changes that lead up to it that cause some of the difficulties. So just like you guys face hormonal changes in your life, that affect you. Well, it happens in females, and there's also a physical set of symptoms that come with it. So because of fluid retention or loss, there's headache, irritability, hormone. They're tired because of hormones. Nerves are affecting them. And you guys have nerves too. So imagine major hormone changes while you're experiencing just normal, traditional high school stuff, okay, teenage stuff. Weight gain due to water retention, sleep, probably, depression, body image. This is real, okay? But depending on the individual, they're all affected differently. So as a result, can limit activity, personal relationships. Some of your athlete friends or performers, cheerleaders, whatever, they're in a situation where sometimes they have to miss a practice or even miss a competition as a result of being severely impaired physically. So they again have to learn how to cope with that, and it's not something you have to deal with. Right. STDs, they're going to be referred to in some cases as STIs, sexually transmitted infections. So if you see that, so sexually transmitted diseases, if you have your books at home, table 32.1 gives a myriad of those. One of the disorders that females will face in a lifetime, 10% anyway, polycystic ovarian syndrome. So cysts grow in the ovaries, which can actually prevent the ovaries from releasing eggs and functioning properly in terms of hormones. So sometimes birth control helps with this. In most cases, it's asymptomatic to a great degree, but here, infrequent menstrual cycles and cases of anovulation or not releasing an egg. So this affects fertility, but it also affects the idea that a female could be pregnant, which then further increases stress. Because if a menstrual cycle is missed, or if there's no egg, she might think she missed a period due to pregnancy. In endometriosis, it's when the endometrium is not growing correctly and is benign and painful. You've seen some of the commercials for people. There's law offices that were talk about representation for women who have endometriosis as a result of taking certain medications. Breast cancer, leading cause of death in women aged 40 to 44. That is not insignificant, gentlemen. Leading cause of death in women 40 to 44. The most likely way a lady from 40 to 4 dies is due to breast cancer. Out of all the cancers, lung cancer is the only one that kills more women of all ages. So the most likely way to die as a woman with cancer is of lung cancer. The second leading cause of death for all women is then breast cancer. Treatment is successful when detected early. So just like testicular tumors that we discussed earlier in the chapter, if we catch these early, very much more success in figuring this out. So they do the same thing. Monthly self-exams, a yearly mammogram for better imaging. In the cases of various tumors, there's a couple of options. Lumpectomies, they remove the lump because it's been consolidated. There's no fear of it having spread. Mastectomies, when they remove the entire tissue because it's spread, it's into the lymph nodes, and the lymph nodes run all throughout the human body, and they can spread, okay? And then lymphatic system. Those cancer cells can move. And then in cases, if it's really early and there's a small lump, we can send a signal around it to blast it, limited field radiation. Okay. So there's a video that I want you guys to watch. I'm going to go ahead and click on it here, see if we can open it up so you can see what video it is. Looks like the link's going to
I found a way to run my old computers.
That's just obviously an ad, but this is the guy we're looking for. And if we catch the right video, it shows all, I think it's 6 parts. So there's part 1. Here it is. This is the one that plays all. So just search it around. Don't worry about what we see on the camera now. And the Great Sperm Race, all 6 parts in a row. There it is. And it's pretty neat. It's an hour long, and you guys are going to enjoy it. So take a look at this. This will be your work for class on Monday, which is CDEF. And then on Wednesday, you're going to test 3rd period, so around 11 o'clock. And we'll test, 10 o'clock 3rd period starts. and then we'll test for 1 hour, and I'll be here live with you in case you need me on next Wednesday. If all of this works out, I'm going to communicate via email, and if I make a mistake in communication, you guys can let me know. All right, that's going to do it for us. Let's bring it back here. Shut it down.